Good evening, everyone. How are you? So you are among a very select group who has seen some of season 2 of Orphan Black, so thank you for coming tonight. My name is Jarett Wieselman. I'm a senior editor for BuzzFeed, and I am thrilled to be here to lead a conversation with the stars of BBC America's Peabody Award-winning drama, Orphan Black. Very well deserved. So please continue clapping as I welcome to the stage stars Jordan Gavaris and Golden Globe nominee Tatiana Maslany.
Hello.
Hello.
I think they like the show. I think they like it a little bit. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Welcome back to America.
Thanks.
So we're just gonna start by going back to the very beginning. When you got the script for this show, was there a moment when you were reading the pilot where you said to yourself, ooh, that show, I wanna do that show?
Yes.
Yes, I
Tell us
agree
what
too.
it
Yes. Yes. No, immediately when I read it, I was, and when I read the sort of synopsis of what this season was going to be, the series was going to be, I was just like obsessed with it. Became totally obsessed, and got to do a couple of auditions, and just started dreaming about Sarah and about the prospects of playing these people, and yeah, it was just the train platform scene at the beginning that really sold it for me. It was so unique. Yeah.
And didn't you find too, especially with the writing in the first 10 pages, I mean, like the entire script, but the first 10 pages especially, we didn't have to work to create the world. Graham had done such Graham Manson, the writer-creator, had done such an incredible job at just painting this picture, and you wouldn't even need it. I mean, obviously we have phenomenal directors who elevate the scripts all the time, but you didn't need that. The world was so clear, it was so vivid, the characters were so realized, and within the first 5 pages, I was hooked. It was the train platform scene for me.
Did at any point during while you were reading the script go, I don't know how they're gonna find an actress who can do this, though?
That's all I was thinking about. I
He's
was
still
like,
thinking it.
No, yeah, right. Yeah, I hadn't really, I mean, I know this is going to sound terrible. I struggle a lot of the time to keep up watching movies, watching television. There's so much content now because, and I know I'm sure 500 statistics to prove me wrong, but it feels like there's tons of movies being produced and tons of television shows, and I just find like I don't have the time. Where am I going to get the time to watch everything? So I wasn't as exposed to Tat's work, especially, that I probably should have been, because it's amazing. Grown-up movie star, if you get a chance. And I'm plugging you right now.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I love you. Yeah, that's all I thought. Because we got the first 2 episodes, I think, during the audition process, right? And I thought, oh my God, I mean, is it going to be, at first I thought, are they somehow, this made no sense because they were clones, but I'm like, are they going to use different actresses? I was wrong, evidently.
If there's one like sextuplet acting family, it would be so amazing. That would just be so great. No, it would be terrible. But you bring up an interesting point accidentally, because I think one of the things that makes this show work, and aside from the performances, are the chemistry the two of you have.
Thank you.
And I want to actually cue a clip, and then we'll go into talking about that.
Thank you.
The Felix clip.
Felix is in this clip. Is he? Yeah. Oh my God.
The narcissist in me loves this.
I forgot to rewind it. Hang on, guys.
Hit input. Hit component 5.
Wrong one.
No, hit input.
I only want to talk to Felix.
This is all Ainsley. She put them up to this. It's all part of the experiment.
Yes. How do clones react when ritually humiliated by friends and loved ones? Fascinating. Hey, Sharesies?
Maybe it's not just Ainsley. Maybe they're all monitors.
The Reverend seems all right. Actually, he's kind of sexy. None of the cloth and all that.
Felix, what am I gonna do?
Put your chin up. Be a woman. This is backstabbing 101.
I cannot go back out there.
Of course you can. You're gonna face the music, eat some humble pie, hug it out, play possum. Ainsley's gonna think she's won, and you are gonna live to fight another day.
Oh, Lord. Can you help me get my face on?
With pleasure.
I love it so much. Oh, I love Felix and Alison. Okay. It's very rare to find two actors who have chemistry not only with each other, but with like 7 other versions of themselves. Was there a chemistry test at any point during the audition process for you two?
Yes, there was.
Yeah, the like last thing we
The
did was a
final
chemistry test.
Did you have to test against every clone? Because here's the thing that I think is so amazing about your performance. You have different chemistry with every incarnation of this woman.
Oh God, sorry. Pressure. Thank you. That's a testament to Tat more than anything, because it's not. I don't have to work to delineate these people. When she walks on set as these women, you buy it. And I mean, yes, okay, there is a certain amount of suspension of your own disbelief that you have to work with, because I do know this girl. I know her well. So when she walks on set as these different people, she gives me every reason in the world to believe that she is someone new, and all I have to do is take the step to surrender myself to the lunacy and do it. And at the end of the day, that is something that I think is kind of a mainstay in a lot of acting classes, which is just commitment and running at something with total abandon, which is another something that you taught me very, very well.
I think there's just a sense of play that I think Jordan and I loved the script so much, and when we met in the audition room, it was just, there's something that just happens between actors, I think, sometimes when they, I don't know, just something you can't really define it. But we felt that for each other in the audition, and then like the Alison and Felix dynamic only started to become apparent as we played those characters, because you don't know your character until your character's up against someone else. Your character doesn't exist in a vacuum, you know. Alison doesn't exist until I'm on set talking to Jordan and he's, you know, being bitchy with me. You know, or like being with Sarah and he treats me differently depending on who I come on as. So it's so much collaborative in that way, I feel.
Oh, thank you.
You said who I come on as. It obviously implies that you stay in character when you're not rolling. Is that just an ease for you to sort of be that person and then be in it and then just be out of it when you're done?
Yeah. I think I have to stay in it because of the shifts, because they're so kind of jarring as it is, and it's also just fun. It's fun to move around and not shift out of Alison. I don't want to. I don't want to lose her. I want to stay in her. I want to explore her. I want to walk around as her. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I have to stay in this. It's just natural. It's just fun.
What about you, Jordan? Do you stay in Felix during filming?
I don't know, Dad. Do I stay in Felix?
Yeah, you're Felix before you have makeup on in the morning. He comes into hair makeup like as Felix every time.
I get more practice in the hair and makeup chair becoming Felix than I do anywhere else. I do. The second I get in the car in the morning, I'd like say goodbye to family or whoever.
Or whoever made your coffee, like at Starbucks that morning. The Starbucks barista.
Can we please strike that from the record? God, I'm mortified. When I leave the house and I get into the car, that's Felix is there. Now, the accent and the physicality are one thing, and then with the makeup and with the clothing and with each layer that, you know, is that stuff is kind of icing on the cake. But the core of who he is, I stay in all day because there's so much, especially when it comes to the accent and the physicality. There are a lot of technical things that I need to be unconscious, or I would be focused on those things when I'm in the scene, and I wouldn't be able to let my guard down. I wouldn't be able to feel present. I wouldn't feel responsive and impulsive, which is something that I played a lot with going into second season, just kind of working with impulse a little bit more instead of trying to calculate everything that I do, because I think that we can, I mean, self-consciousness as an actor is like your worst enemy. That self-monitoring, the self, just that real self-awareness, and there's that enormous pressure to calculate everything you do before you go on set because you don't want to fail, you don't want to mess up, you don't want to be bad. But the freedom comes from pushing that away and allowing yourself to fail. And that's something that, sorry, that's something that I learned this week. You go ahead.
Nobody's here to see me talk. But, you know, you bring up an interesting point, because I would imagine there could be a scenario on a different set where it's like, oh, there's that guy staying in character all day again.
Totally.
But here, it's sort of necessary, and it kind of seems like what everyone's doing.
And the crew is like so on it. They're always
Amazing.
shocked when Jordan drops accent at the end of the season. They're like, huh, because he doesn't sound. They genuinely are freaked out by it
Poor
because he
Ram.
stays so in character. But we're so allowed to do that. It's really a playground for us. You know, whatever physical movement we want to do, whatever improv we do before a take, the crew just kind of goes, yeah, whatever. Like they do their lights, they do their work, we do our work, and it's really nice in that way.
The accent building for Sarah and for Felix, they obviously were raised together. Did you guys collaborate on sort of talking about where they came from to make sure your accents made sense together?
Did we collaborate? I feel like there was maybe a conversation somewhere in the beginning about location.
Like Brixton, working class, South London. Sorry, hello. And just, but I think that their accents are very different, just because they're personally very different.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, there's little things like Sarah's just that much gruffer, that much more, not to tell you who she is, because that's horrible, Ben, you know her, but you know that she's got that kind of abrasive, like, the glottal stops work so much better with her, but because Felix is working class, trying to be a little more posh, trying to be just a little bit more put together, there's more of a flow. I don't use as many glottal stops. I kept more musicality in the accent, kind of the up and down, and I did but those are like character dependent.
It's like different defenses, like how we speak, you know, it says so much about what we're defending against. Sarah's kind of monotone and gruff and sort of, you know, puts out a hard exterior, and Felix tends to glide over things, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love
maybe.
that.
No, definitely.
I want to glide.
Tatiana, you've talked extensively about your process of sort of finding these women every day. You use music a lot. In season 2, we really get to meet Rachel, the pro clone, a lot more. Can you talk about the process of building her and finding who she was on a daily basis?
She was exciting to me this season because she was so, we only got such a tiny little glimpse of her last season, and she's so very much different from the other clones in that she's an insider as opposed to an outsider, or at least that's what she believes she is. And she prides herself on that. And she wants to be different from the other clones. I think they all do, but they have formed a sisterhood that she's not a part of. There's a wealth to her, a grace to her, an elegance, a quiet power, and a quiet cruelty that's really fun to play with. And quite scary to kind of vibrate in, because I so want to move and I want to, you know, betray how nervous I am or how afraid I am to be up there and playing her. But it's fun to let all that kind of just vibrate inside of me instead of allowing it to come out.
And are you comfortable sharing what kind of music you listen to for her?
Yeah, it's like 90s slow jams. It's like it's like R&B because to me, you know, I feel powerful with her when I feel sexy, and I think, you know, that's my sexy music is it's like R. Kelly and Aaliyah. So yeah.
I feel much better about what happened 2 minutes ago now. Thank you.
What about you? I mean, you talked a little bit about your process in sort of shedding Jordan and finding Felix, but do you have sort of a daily routine?
When I get scared, I have a daily routine. Like the first day back on season 2, I panicked because I was like, what am I doing for the last 3 months? I should have been like doing animal exercises in the kitchen. What the hell's wrong with me? So of course I panic. I took off all my clothes and I danced to Strict Machine by Goldfrapp in my kitchen for a little while before crawling across the floor and doing my feline animal exercise, which is insane. I mean, that didn't help me at all. But no, for the most part, it's showing up to set in character and the accent and the physicality. But this season was different because I think there was this pressure to. First season, I felt this enormous pressure that the audience know who Felix is from the second he walked on screen. And to me, that was very much about an emphasis on the external, making sure that, you know, his back was arched just the right way and the accent was perfectly spot on. And I really felt that aside from Alison and Sarah, I didn't really get a chance to work with too many of the other clones. And season 2 was much more getting into the headspace of, okay, the audience knows who this character is now. I don't need to make an entrance in a scene for them to know, oh, Felix is here, and this is who he is, and this is the kind of person he is. It was much more, okay, where can I go? How do I stretch him? How do I make this person new without playing a new person? How do I reinvent this person? Where do we go from here? So it was much more about working on the internal this season.
Tatiana, for you, you know, I think the last time you were here, you had recently wrapped the first season, or long ago, I can't remember. But, you know, you had talked about being nervous about picking it up again for season 2, about refinding all of these women. What was it like when you actually went back and had to rediscover all of these people?
Yeah, I think I had more anxiety beforehand than I did when we were actually doing it. Again, it's that thing of, you know, you're in your room and you're going, do I know this person? Can I be this person? Okay, yes, I can, and you're kind of internal about your process, right? But when you're on set, that's, again, it's where it happens, where you actually remember who these people are. And then, yeah, like Jordan said, it was about going deeper. It was like, okay, so trust that my body knows this. Trust that my body will respond however, you know, and that's the character. And then just how can we change the character, deepen her, challenge her, do the total wrong thing, you know, and just play within the structure.
How much does the wardrobe and the hair, which is incredible, help you guys? Do you find that you really can see the character once you have the bangs on for Alison, or you have the dreadlocks in for Cosima?
Yeah, I find the hair makeup team and wardrobe team to be some of my biggest collaborators on set, because they're always also trying to change things up. They're, you know, Steven, our makeup guy, will check in every day and go, okay, where is she at today? How can we make the wing just a little more, you know, is she trying to defend herself against how fragile she feels by caking the makeup on? Is she more bared? Is she stripped down? So it's kind of, you know, it's a fun sort of investigative process, and it definitely helps to look in the mirror and see this new person. Yeah.
What about for you, Jordan?
Very much the same thing. I mean, the hair changes constantly. And Sandy is always offering up some kind of new style, which I find the hair to be a little bit more of a cosmetic process in terms of, okay, you know, he's going to the potluck, or he's going to Alison, so we'll put a finger wave in because it's suburban.
That's what suburban
because
people
that's
have.
what suburban looks like.
Obviously.
What do I know? I live in Los Angeles. But the makeup is similarly a much more investigative process in that I think in season 1, when Kira's struck by the car, I'm sorry if I'm spoiling anything for anyone, but you should have seen it by now. That was okay. How do we strip him down? What does he look like at his most vulnerable, and why would he do this? And seeing Felix in kind of incidentally with no makeup on was by far the most shocking thing that I could have imagined, and it really reads shocking on camera too, and definitely helps to open me up, just like the makeup helps to put a mask on and make me go, oh yeah, this is what this character does. This is his MO. This is how he defends himself against the world. Is theater, the dramatics.
How collaborative has the process become for you guys, not only with hair and makeup and wardrobe, but with the creators? I mean, you guys have now played them for 2 years for you, 1 year for us. But did you find that coming back for year 2, they're like, okay, you guys know who these people are. We want you to be a part of the conversation about figuring out how they would react, where they go from here, things like that?
Yeah, I feel like it's an open door. You know, the collaboration with John and Graham, who created the show and who write and direct and showrun and everything. They've been really good about including me in the process, as far as shifts in people or storylines or new people, and really including me in that process. But also not burdening me with so much of what's coming, you know, still letting me just be in the present a little bit more.
What about for you?
Yeah, I think it's been very much the same thing. I know that one of the biggest conversations we had at Comic-Con, of all places, in July was that, you know, look, Felix is great. He's had this incredible reception as the comic relief, and it's really fun, but how do we do the right thing with this character? How do we make a statement? Where do we take him? Where do we go? How do we go deeper? Again, kind of thematically, going deeper, peeling back the layers is kind of a recurrent theme with the show, and as it should be with the characters. And they were just completely open to suggestions, and you know, they'd bring me a suggestion of where, you know, okay, well, you know, we're thinking about this shift for him, and we're thinking he may interact with this person, and let me digest that for a little while. Do you have any? They'd come back a couple of weeks later. Do you have any suggestions? What's he going to do? How does he feel? And we would, that back and forth, that collaborative mentality is I think part of what makes the show so wicked in the end. Absolutely. It's not a committee production either, unless the committee are the creative people. It really is in the hands of the artists.
One of the other things that I think a lot of people overlook when they watch the show is how technically difficult it must be to actually make it. I would like to throw to a second clip that I brought, and and then we'll talk about that a little bit more.
I dreamed that we were friends.
We're not friends.
We will be. I've seen it.
Don't they feed you wherever you go?
This is a nice restaurant, isn't it?
Yeah, 5 stars.
You know my name. Tell me yours.
This friendship isn't there yet. You're Russian?
No. I grew up here in a convent in Ukraine.
Ukrainian nuns.
Is that who made you kill Kachaobeng and the others? No. They saved me from abandonment. Excuse me. I want my knife back. The one you took from me.
Right. Right, the flying fish blade. You got a thing for wings, don't you?
I'm supposed to kill you too. But you let me live.
Yeah. So let's call it even. Okay? We'll go our separate ways.
We'll never be separate. Tell me the names of the others, and I will spare you. You move your foot, or I'll stab you again. You have until midnight to tell me the names. Call this number, or you die first. Bye-bye.
So let's say for a scene like that, how many passes does it require to get every angle and every shot necessary to make that one, what was that, 2-minute scene?
Well, that scene is a bit different from some of our other stuff because that's just a lock-off shot. So the only scene where there's two of me is in the wide. And it's nice because the camera doesn't move. So we don't have to be as just brain dead by the end of the day. Like, it's less of a stressful process. So that's the one, and then we have the two over the shoulders, which are both with me and Catherine, who's my clone double. So she's acting with me, which is the biggest relief and so much fun. But in that other scene in the wide, I think she had to leave. And I was just talking to myself, I'm pretty sure. She might have been in there, actually, because it's so divided. But in those scenes where we have like the camera moving, that's a whole other thing. That's a techno dolly, which is a completely different type of camera, which memorizes the kind of internal movement.
Some say it was forged in hell.
Yeah, some would say that. It's insane. And it memorizes the movement, and then we have to do it exactly the same with the same rhythm, because we have an earbud in that's got the dialogue that's happening on the other side, and yeah, it's a lot more complex.
A little complex.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is something that I feel like no matter what acting school you go to, you are not prepared to handle.
Yeah, it's technically crazy, but at the same time, there's so many things I can attribute it to as far as like one-woman shows or even just like improv. I trained in improv, and that's what I found the most helpful, because you're so often on a stage like this with nothing, creating the props, the set, the costumes, the other characters, the fourth wall. I mean, so much of that, you know, we have those instincts as actors. We all can create somebody and talk to them across from us. We just pretend we can't, you know, because it's too crazy. But it's really fun to get to actually just play with the imagination of it.
Jarett, what about for you? Because there have been plenty of scenes that you've shared with multiple clones. I mean, do you, in a situation like, let's say there's, you know, Felix and 3 clones, is one Tatiana, one the actress she mentioned, and then like a tennis ball?
Well, it's tricky sometimes, but usually how it works with the techno dolly, and I'm going to butcher this explanation, I really apologize this. We do a pass with the camera movement to establish the pattern. And once we get one take that we really like, we keep that, we lock it on a particular pattern so it memorizes it. Then we do a take for blocking. So we use Catherine and another double to establish the body movements. You know, we kind of chart out, okay, where are we gonna go? What are we gonna do? Who moves when, where? And then after we feel like we've got that down, we remove Catherine and remove the other double, and it'll be me and Tat and 2 tennis balls on T-stands. And then if by chance, and this always happens, I would always be the one to do this. Tat's done it a couple of times too, but it's easier for me to do it. If I happen to break one of the thirds, because all of the clones are essentially divided into thirds, if I happen to leave Sarah and go to Alison at a certain point in a scene, then I will have to, after we finish the Sarah pass and she changes over to Alison, I will come into the Alison take at a certain point and have to react to Sarah based on everything that she did in the previous take as Sarah.
And
So,
scene.
My head hurts. That's crazy.
And I went to the school of Tatiana Maslany. Literally was just watching you. Like there were a couple of things, like season 2 is kind of full of that stuff, so prepare yourself. But a couple of things in particular, I'm remembering just watching you, what you would do. She would tirelessly, even if we'd been working like 18 hours, would be standing at the monitor watching playback going, okay, right, that's what I did in this scene, so I'm going to have to make sure that I clock that as Alison because I did that as Sarah. And she's so, I'm going to like sing your praises right
Don't.
now. I know. It's very, well, you are so technically on point. So I would watch that, and that's like one of your biggest assets as an actor and being on set is learn. Sometimes it's hard, and we're not going to pretend that we don't have egos. Everybody's got an ego. But if you can really, really, really try, and I fight it all the time, everybody does, to suppress the ego and just learn from your scene partners and learn from whoever else is there. Learn from the actor that's never done anything before in his life, and he's a day player, and he came on to deliver one line. If you can learn something, like learn, talk, teach, share. And that's like been my greatest asset working on this show is just getting to learn from everyone, and you in particular, because we spend so much time together.
Well, I'm gonna.
I feel like I just grandstanded.
Well,
I
here,
should have been up here. And
Well, I'll give Tatiana the chance to maybe turn it around. What do you feel like you've learned from Jordan working with him for the last 2 years?
So much.
Don't say it.
So much about commitment and joy and humor in the process. I think I tend to get bogged down and, angry if things aren't working. And Jordan has this lovely, and I think that's why Felix is so natural to you, even though you're so different from Felix. This natural ability to storytell and to be light and to be humorous and to be funny and to find the comedy in dark scenes and play both sides. Like he plays drama and comedy just as fluidly as anything. So I've learned that. And just things that I can't really explain as far as just learning from working with you. Just, I don't even know how
Thank
to
you.
define it.
That's so sweet.
Thanks, baby.
We're having a moment up here.
No one else is here. You can just, it's fine. Now, if you haven't watched season 1, I don't know what's wrong with you, but also just close your ears for a second because the scene we just watched featured Helena, who is no longer with us.
No.
Rest in peace.
Very sad.
Rest in peace.
Is it strange to lose a character on a show but not lose the actor playing them? I mean, no, I'm serious because, she was such a presence throughout the whole of season 1. Do you mourn the passing of a clone as either the person playing her or...
You really did find job security in an industry that you shouldn't.
I mean, how do you, what do you do when something like that happens?
I mean, it's interesting because somebody asked me, like, was I happy that Helena died? And from Sarah's point of view, yes, happy. From Helena's point of view, I was like, no, obviously not, But I think, she allowed me to play with a feral side, with the child, this sort of child demon thing. And yeah, I miss that. I miss her. I miss that sense of play. But there's a lot of other clones too to deal with. Yeah.
Did you at least get to keep the wig?
Oh, the wig is, yes.
Tremendous.
I kept the
Put
doubles
that on
wig.
when I listen to R&B.
We took a lot of, I asked for questions on Twitter before I came here tonight, and one thing that actually came up a lot was asking who the hardest clone for you to play is.
I think it's Rachel, this season especially, just because of all the reasons I was saying about the entitlement and the stillness. And she's new territory, so I think she's been the most difficult, if that's the term, but I think it's more the most exciting, yeah.
Is it a weird question to ask you which clone you like working with the most?
Not at all. I don't really like any. No, I'm kidding. Working with, it's so weird because they all. What happens to her when she changes over to become a new character? The exploration that she gets to have. What am I trying to say here? the experience and journey that she takes when she assumes a new character's identity and gets to explore them and create them, it's certainly not the same, but a similar experience that I have when I work opposite a version of her, because it's an exercise in, you know this girl, it's not her. I don't have to work that hard because she's so amazing, but it's an exercise in doing that, and an exercise in imagination, and then getting to go through the process of what this new person does to this character that I already know in my bones. I know him, I know this person. And then where do my impulses take me? Who does he become? Does his movement change? Is he submissive? Is he dominant? Is he aggressive? Is he passive? What happens to this person? And I can't pick. They all offer something different, like something incredibly different. And who'd have thought, like Alison offers this Laurel and Hardy buddy comedy routine. And Sarah is Felix at his most vulnerable. And, Cosima's kind of the girl he'd see out at a club, and she'd say, "Hey, cool pants," and he'd go, "Oh, nice. What would she have? Dreads?" And they'd start up a little conversation, but a little wary of each other. And there's something that every one of them gives me, something different.
Did you guys learn anything? Let me rephrase that. What did you learn come from season 1 that maybe changed your process or changed how you approached season 2?
For me, the big one was the clone scenes and just breathing in them. I think I talked about this last time too, but not going, oh, okay, I'm seeing the other person over there. Just going, I see that person, and trusting that I see that person, and that I can look away from that person doesn't go away. That's kind of the biggest thing I learned, because, Katya, the two of us are like so locked on each other because so terrified that I wasn't going to see her, I wasn't going to know she was there, and so scared of that technical thing. But that's the biggest thing for me, is just breathing in all of it. Yeah.
What about you, Jordan?
Very similar, in this, not quite the same way, but the idea, and I think I mentioned it before, of not getting so bogged down in the external, trusting that you know this person, trusting that when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to dance naked in your kitchen and go through the ridiculousness of animal exercises, afraid that you'll lose them. They're there. They're right under the surface. Trusting that and trying to focus more on relaxing into them and impulse. What does your impulse tell you to do? What is, when this new person approaches you, what happens? What happens to this character? And if it's something that you think the character would never do, or I think that's another thing too, leaning into discomfort a little bit more, instead of being told something like, okay, Jordan, we think in this scene you're going to start here and you're going to go there, and I go, no, I can't do that. I can't. In my brain, I'd already planned out that I was going to do that. Mm-hmm. Am I really saying that because I can't do what they've suggested me to do, or am I just scared? And it's always that you're just scared and you're unwilling to lean into the discomfort and do something a little different and take a risk and be fearless, and trying really hard to do that this season and not worry about doing something that the character would never do. Well, we're all human. We all have that quality in common. We're all capable of everything. He's a human being. He's capable of everything. So it's representing all shades of humanity.
A lot of actors will talk about the fact they can't watch themselves. I would imagine in a weird way it might actually be helpful to watch yourselves in this project. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah. I definitely want to see how certain things have come off. And I like watching the show. I like the show. It's fun. I don't remember. Also, I have to do interviews about the show, and I don't remember what happened sometimes to check back and so that I can
You must have
talk
like a
about
complete blackout, I feel, during the production of the show, because it's so all-consuming. I would imagine you can't say, well, I'm going to remember to talk about that in an interview when I do that in 9 months.
No, people have been asking me what the season's about. I'm like, They're like, oh, when that happened in episode 1, I'm like, sure, probably, no idea. No idea, it's just a blur of adrenaline. It's a blur of panic.
What about you? Can you watch it?
Oh, yeah. And I want to, of course, I want to be like, no, I can't watch myself. I don't. Of course, I can watch myself. Of course, I'm completely narcissistic. And on occasion, it's difficult because I don't look at the screen and go, out of vanity, I can't watch myself. It's, God, I didn't believe that moment, or shoot, I thought I was doing something there and it didn't come across, and And a lot of the time, you know, it's the challenge in watching yourself just comes from not picking it apart to the time, like on an atomic level, picking this performance apart. Because I do things in a moment because they make sense in the moment, and they may not make sense 8 months later when you watch it, but in that moment it worked, and it was truthful. That sounds wanky, but yeah.
So before you guys came out, we took some questions from the audience, so we selected a few. This question is from Rachel for Jordan, and she would like
Hello,
to
Rachel.
know, which clone would you be friends with in real life?
Cosima.
I didn't even finish asking the question. Did I run? Why?
I mean, I can just tell immediately, like, that's the kind of girl that I would sit down and have a conversation with, and I'd go to Alison's for a meal.
You'd use her, basically.
Oh, I just admitted to that, didn't I? I did. And Sarah, I'm just afraid of. I don't even want to go there. But no, Cosima. I think she's. The reason I'd be friends with her is because as a human, she looks the most familiar to me. In my world as an artist, my world as Jordan, she looks the most familiar to me. She feels the most safe.
For Tatiana, we have a question from, I mean, it might be Gaston. I'm going to say Gaston, because Beauty and the Beast. Do you use a real-life reference for any of your characters to help click into each persona, something Johnny Depp talked about with Pirates of the Caribbean and Keith Richards?
Oh, cool. Yeah, the real Cosima I used as a jumping-off point for Cosima. The real Cosima is our science consultant on the show, and she came in and did like a Clone 101 seminar with us, and I watched her talk about science, and she talked about science the way I talk about art, with the same emotion in her voice and passion for it, and not knowing and questions and all of this stuff. So and also used her body, this thing she did physically, where she was just so passionate about it, and so I used that as a jumping off point for Cosima. And then, other than that, I think everybody else is kind of. I think Alison is bits of people I know, who I maybe saw from the outside and go, oh, you're that kind of person. Don't want anything to do with you. But when you get to know them, Alison's like the closest to me, so I can say this. But she, because on the outside, you can judge her pretty easily. But I think investigating deeper into that was fun.
I love that. So looking ahead, obviously, as we've discussed this evening, you have absolutely no idea what happens in season 2. But I am curious. I mean, when you look at the audience you guys have cultivated, I mean, it's a pretty intensely rabid fan base, both on social media and in real life, and probably every day in your waking lives. What are you excited for the Clone Club, as they call themselves, to experience with season 2?
Wow.
I can think of a couple of things, none of which we can actually spoil.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think changing I hope I'm saying this word right, I hope I know what it means. Changing the vernacular.
Whoa, what?
Like changing the way that we, changing like the status quo, like the standard, the way that we say things or see things or. Vernacular. Shoot.
So like
Changing the vernacular.
I liked vernacular.
Wait, start over, and then we'll just cut that part out of the tape.
Okay, I can explain why I got confused, because I'm currently studying for my driver's test in LA, and I was thinking vehicular. And the two just combined. There's a lot of words floating around in my head. More than anything, just there are a couple of, and we've already done it in kind of a feminist way, in that we're not a feminist show. We're not. I know Joss Whedon was asked this question, why he still is writing strong women, and he said, because you ask questions like that. Mm-hmm. And I think we get a lot of praise for the fact that, oh my God, isn't this wonderful? It's an entirely female-driven show, and aren't these female characters? What's it like? Why'd you decide to do female shows? And why? And it's like, oh my God, dude, because you are asking questions like that, and these, without drawing too much attention to the fact that we are led pretty much entirely by woman. This this will hopefully become the new normal. This will hopefully just be able to be on television and not get attention for the fact that it is, either blatantly or subversively feminist. And I think that's cool, and I think that that's kind of part of John and Graham's intention. I think we're going to continue to try and do that with other things. Can't tell you what they are. But I can tell you that they're very vehicular. My God, Jordan, vernacular?
It's fine. It was endearing. If you see him on the road, just pull over. What about you, Tatiana?
Yeah, I think the same thing, and also just that the writers so bravely didn't sit back on things that worked last season and just kind of go, hey, look, it's that thing again. They've really taken it to a new level, story-wise, character-wise. They continue to paint themselves into corners that I don't know how they're going to get out of. I don't know how we're going to get out of. So it's it's exciting for that reason. Mm-hmm.
Coming in, are there conversations? I mean, if you followed sort of the news, you know that there is a new clone being brought in this season. When they're crafting a clone, obviously they have an idea of what they need her to be for the function of the story, but now that you've done it for so long, how involved in the minutia of building a new human being are you?
Yeah, like pretty much right with them, along with them. I don't go, hey, I want a new clone now. They come up to me with that, obviously. I would never ask for that. No, they come up to me with, the sort of bones of somebody or the part that they might play in the storytelling, or not that, and we come up with that. We find what that is. And they maybe have an idea of where she's from or something, but it's really collaborative in that way. Every part of it's really become very collaborative. I'm losing my speech now. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Very collaborative.
Yes.
She's just vernacular all over the place.
Yeah. Well, lastly, I'm going to ask you guys this, because obviously this is a room full of actors. Whether it's through this experience or your career in general, what is the one piece of advice you would impart to fellow actors that doesn't involve car slang?
Sorry.
For me, I've been taking this acting class recently. Like tonight, I'm not going to it because I'm here, which is awesome. No, so I'm happy to be here. But the thing I've been learning so much in class is joy in your work, is remembering why you love it, is remembering how lucky we are to tell stories and to get to play people and to empathize with people and to tell people stories about themselves and about humanity and embody people and be idiots and be crazy and do all the things that nobody gets to do in civilian life. Like, all those fantasies we have, all those horrible fantasies, all the beautiful fantasies. I mean, that to me is the thing that I'm struggling with too, because you get bogged down or I get bogged down in pressure of performing and pressure of doing it right or whatever, but I forget why I love it. And tapping back into that child thing, I think is the most the best advice I could give from my perspective.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jordan?
I think something that I'm going to work on, something I kind of have learned recently and am going to work on for season 3, God willing, we get one, or secular being willing. I want to be politically correct here. Is being fearless, being really surrendering yourself to this and realizing that the worst case scenario, if something doesn't work out or a take is bad or the character doesn't come together, the world's not over. That you don't die, you're not shot on the spot, no one's going to come out and call you a phony or a liar or a fake, that it's just a thing. And realizing that as important as pop culture is, as important as the show is to me and anyone else, that real life are the moments that happen between people, that happen between you and your friends and your family, and that it takes some of the pressure off to be perfect, to constantly, that pressure to perform, that pressure to get it right and do something incredible, instead of just being fearless with your art and taking chances. And if you fail, you fail, and if you succeed, great.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you
Thank
to
you
BBC
guys so
America
much.
and the SAG Foundation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you, and have a good night.
Thank you so much.